We don't have to be embarrassed by our senator. We can get a new one.
A major development this week in the 2024 race for U.S. Senate. Dallas area Congressman Colin Allred announced he wants to challenge Senator Ted Cruz. Allred is a former NFL player who's serving his third term in Congress. The announcement came in a video released online. In the video, Allred highlighted his bipartisan work in Congress, including legislation to help bring high-tech jobs to Texas. He also criticized Cruz for focusing on culture war issues that divide Texans.
We deserve a senator whose team is Texas. But Ted Cruz only cares about himself. You know that.
Allred took several jabs at Cruz's past, specifically his actions during the January 6th Capitol attack and his trip to Cancun during the 2021 February freeze in Texas. Politics reporter Monica Madden had the chance to talk to Senator Cruz and asked him to respond to the criticism.
You can always expect Democrats to be attacking and to be criticizing. I can tell you what my priorities are, and they're three things: jobs, freedom, and security. The reason those are my priorities is those are the top priorities for Texans.
Monica joins us now. We just heard the senator there. Did he say anything specifically about the challenge from Allred?
Well, I have to give you a little bit of backstory, Josh. Since I was interviewing him from the Capitol, there's actually Senate Ethics Committee rules that prohibit lawmakers from talking about campaigns or elections while they're acting in their official duty, specifically in the Capitol. So we couldn't ask him specifically about Allred's launched campaign, but we did kind of find a workaround, asking him to respond to criticisms that Allred and other Democrats have made about him in general. And we asked, about the notion that Cruz is stoking culture wars rather than focusing on policy matters for Texans. And he didn't respond specifically to that criticism per se, but said he expects Democrats to criticize him always, and then pivoted to different talking points of what he sees as his accomplishments during his time as a senator for Texas. He said he's focused on jobs, freedom, and security, those three things.
All right, well, that makes sense. There has been a push to get Allred to run against Cruz for a while. What do we know about this background?
Well, Allred is from Texas. He's from Dallas, was raised by a single mom. He talks about that in his campaign launch video about growing up with his mom, who was a teacher. So he said he can relate to a lot of the everyday struggles of everyday Texans. And from there, he played football all his life and was able to become an NFL linebacker. So that's where he first kind of got that name recognition. Then he left the NFL to go to law school, eventually served in the Obama administration before running for Congress. And when he ran for Congress, he beat a longtime Republican, Pete Sessions, which is something that Democrats are looking toward as a hopeful sign about him. But in his campaign video in general, Allred really focused on a lot of the things that he's worked on in Congress. He's positioning himself as someone who's bipartisan, who's willing to work across the aisle, listed a couple of his accomplishments in that video, and that's how he's trying to frame himself as differently than his possible opponent, Cruz.
Well, Cruz won narrowly last time against Beto O'Rourke, you might remember. Any signs that this race could also be close?
I think that is something that Democrats are pointing to. Granted, it's going to be a challenge. We know that Democrats haven't won a statewide seat in Texas since the 90s, but because of that close margin last time, Democrats are hopeful that maybe Allred might be this guy. Granted, it might be difficult to replicate the type of campaign we saw in 2018. There's different factors now, but Allred is someone who has had a fundraising ability. When he was running against Sessions, who was a longtime Republican incumbent in that seat, he did outraise Sessions, so Democrats are hopeful about that. And he just announced that within the first 36 hours of launching the Senate campaign, he raised $2 million. So as we know, you need money to run a campaign in this state.
All right, Monica, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
The Texas Medical Board is supposed to protect patients from doctors with problematic pasts, but our investigation found that's not always happening.
I think you've been a great service to the people of Texas with what you've written about and is exposed.
The new bill's making progress at the Capitol to hold the board accountable. And later, a loophole in Texas law makes it nearly impossible for families to get answers in criminal cases when a suspect dies. Why that loophole could soon be closed.